Hey, welcome back to Just Add Wood. I'm Chad. Today we're going to build a lumber rack for my shed. The shed's well on its way to being stuffed to the gills with everything I wanted to get out of my two-car garage to turn into a makerspace. So I need a new rack. No, it's not that kind of video. I need a new lumber rack. I don't know if it's a woodworker's rite of passage or if it's just something every woodworker struggles with or has to have, but I need a rack on this big blank wall in my shed. I've built various styles of racks and carts in the past, but they just seem to turn out to not be what's needed, or I outgrow it pretty quickly. I suspect because most of my shop projects were sort of built haphazardly and in the moment to suit a particular need right at that time. So hastily get it done, and then I seem to outgrow it. Imagine that. So I really wanted to put some thought into this rack and how I can build something that hopefully it can grow with me and not be scrapped the minute my needs change. So came to me that I probably ought to build something out of 2x4s and EMT conduit for the shelves. We've all seen this design before. It's been on YouTube for a long time, but it seems to check all the boxes. Versatile, scalable, it's infinitely reconfigurable, sort of future-proof, if you will. It's affordable, it's easy to build. I mean, even at today's material prices, this rack should be less than half of a smaller but similar style commercially available unit. So far, much of my content's been construction projects, building this patio that you see behind me or this shed. So I have a lot of construction materials to store. Poking around the internet, what did we do before the internet? Looking up this particular style rack with 2x4s and EMT conduit, I quickly discovered that not only am I not the original in this design, it's been being done for many, many years. But two videos in particular spoke to me, and I want to give credit to Jay Bates and Michael Builds for their two versions of this rack and providing me the inspiration to complete my own project. They've already done all the math and all the strength tests and all that, so you should definitely go check out their videos if you want to see how they built theirs. But here's how I'm going to build mine. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you'll follow along. Here are the materials I'm using, starting with some big box store 2x4 studs. Because my shed walls are a little less than 8 feet long, I can cut them down a little bit. And some 3/4 inch EMT conduit. Side note, 3/4 inch represents the inside diameter and not the outside diameter. This will be important later. All of this stuff's readily available at many of the big box stores. Here's how I imagine the layout going, because I need lots of pictures and diagrams. I don't know about y'all, but the first few holes will be 16 inches apart, starting at 16 inches off the floor. Then the upper holes will be 12 inches apart, and then there's the top at the top of my wall plate. These holes will be drilled at about a 10-degree angle. Here's a quick SketchUp I made of the design. 2x4 studs, 16-inch on centers. I'm going to start by drilling 15 16th inch wide holes, about 3 inches deep into the narrow face of the studs. We're going to start those at about 16 inches off the floor. The first 3 holes will be 16 inches apart. This spacing will allow for 4x8 sheet goods below the shelves if the 2 bottom shelves are not used. The holes should be angled about 10 degrees if possible to give the shelves a little slope to help things stay on the shelves. If possible, I say. More on this later. Haha. I'll be cutting the conduit into 15-inch pieces to fit in the holes to act as shelves. And this design is super flexible and infinitely rearrangeable for whatever size space you have to fill. Just add or take away 2x4s. So the first thing I'm going to do to the 2x4s is square up the ends. Always square up your ends, but just watch out for big nasty splinters. Ouch! Okay, splinter removed, back in action. I'm going to finish truing up the ends of these boards here, and then I'm going to spray paint the ends. This is very important. Michael Builds touches on this in his video. But basically, because I need a quick visual reference to put them through the drill press in the same direction, because the hole layout isn't symmetrical and the holes are all angled. So all the holes need to be drilled in the same direction and the studs installed in the same orientation. So marking one end can help eliminate shelf holes winding up in the wrong place or the wrong angle later on. With one end marked and all the boards lined up and clamped together, I just mark where the holes need to go, and even though I have a fence on the drill press, I still mark the center of the board just to be safe. I'll show y'all in just a minute, but I ran into a couple of problems at the drill press, so I thought I'd just grab the conduit, cut down the 10-foot sticks into 8 15-inch pieces. Even though conduit is usually pretty soft and easy to cut, holding it wasn't working very well, and my vise was indisposed at the moment. Is it just me, or is the lead always broken every time I pick up a pencil? Now, that's more like it. So I just thought the simplest thing to do would be to notch a scrap piece of wood to use as a clamping block. This stuff really does cut like butter. I'm using a reciprocating saw with a metal blade, but you could use a jigsaw or a bandsaw or even a hacksaw. It's really pretty soft metal. With all of the pieces cut to the appropriate length, in this case 15 inches each, I put them in a pile next to the belt sander. You could also use any other sort of sander. You could use a DA or sandpaper and sanding block or even a file to knock off any burrs. But I put them in a pile next to the belt sander, just grabbed a bucket to throw them in and sanded each end and then tossed them in the bucket as I went along. By the way, if you're interested in how I'm organizing this shed, stay tuned for more videos on what I did on the other walls of the shed. There's a lumber rack on this wall, there's lawn and garden tools section on another wall, and even a loft in the back of the shed. All right, we hit the first obstacle. I need to drill into the stud along the narrow face into the 3.5 inch depth. I don't know, however you say that. I need to drill into the narrow side of the stud, which is 3.5 inches deep in this orientation. And I want to drill about a 2.5 inch hole into there. Problem is my poor little Harbor Freight drill press. So there's a couple of problems with this bench top drill press. It's a good economical solution and it's done everything I've wanted it to do now for several years. I've not had any trouble out of this drill press at all. Bless its little heart. It has a rotating surface so I can get the degree holes that I need, but it only has a 2 inch depth or 2 inch throw. So I can't drill any further than 2 inches deep with this drill press. Not to mention with a 2x4, which is 3.5 inches tall, and a spade bit, which is several inches long, most of them are 6 inches, there's not enough room between chuck and the lumber to fit a 2x4 on here. So turning this platform 10 degrees to get my holes drilled, it's not going to work. So I'm going to have to move this out of the way. I'm going to have to come up with some sort of shim so my 2x4 stay on about a 10 degree angle, but I'm only going to be able to drill 2 inch holes. So anyway, I'm going to try 3 different drill bits here. I have 3/4, 7/8, and 1 inch, and I want to see which hole the conduit slides into the easiest. So I'm going to go ahead and give these a shot for some samples. A 3/4 inch hole isn't big enough at all, and the 3/4 part of 3/4 inch conduit is the inside diameter, not the outside diameter. Duh. A 7/8 inch hole is about the same size as the pipe, so it won't fit in there at all. And then 1 inch hole just seemed way too loose. Not shown here, but just like the porridge in that other story, 15/16 inch hole was just about right. Speaking of spade bits, just as an FYI, the current trend in the big box stores is very aggressive bits with the threaded tips. I know the threaded tips help pull the bit through the wood, and this might be okay for roughing out houses or drilling really fast holes, but it's not what's needed here. They leave a really rough hole. They'll likely overpower any of these lightweight tools, so just avoid them for woodworking. Anyway, to drill consistent angles with a cordless drill, my plan is to build a temporary bracket. So my plan is to just sort of take a piece of wood, set the drill in it, and then box it in to give me sort of a template or a sleeve, as it were, a guide, and then hack the end of this off with the miter saw at the angle I want to drill these holes. So that should give me enough room to drop this drill in there, and we should be good to go. All right, so with the box built, I'm just going to cut it at a 10 degree like this, and I'm going to do that on the miter saw. No, it won't work. On to plan number 2. To build a little table with a scrap of wood on the right angle and just screw through the slots here into my work surface. So hopefully that'll work. That's about 10 degrees right there. That's where I'm going to put it. My third plan is, unfortunately, the 3/4 piece of wood I was trying to use still made it too tight to fit a 2x4 at an angle. It's really tight space under this mini drill press. I probably should have just bought shorter drill bits. Anyway, so this attempt, I'm just going to add a fence and use a little 1/2 inch spacer off to one side of the foot to hopefully create the angle I need. So this is my jury-rigged drill press slopes. And it looks like with this jury-rigged fence and table with my little ramp there, looks like I'm going to be at about a 5% grade, a 5% slope, slightly less than a 5% slope. So I'm going to test drill one and see what it looks like. Yeah, it's about a 5% slope there. I think in the end, it's got enough rise to keep items from falling off. That should work. Time to make some holes. Don't! Did I just do that? This is exactly why I marked one in, so I'd put them all in the drill press in the right direction. Still managed to screw up the first one. Oh well, live and learn. Let's try it again. All right, with all the holes cut, I say all the holes. With the holes partially cut on the drill press, I'm gonna go ahead and finish cutting the last inch or so of hole depth of hole, whatever. I'm gonna go ahead and finish cutting these up by hand since the angle is already started with the drill press and it shouldn't mess it up too bad, we hope. All right, so here we are in the shed with all of my 2x4s cut and drilled in the appropriate places. Remember, they're all marked so that we know the red is the bottom. And all I intend to do now is to mount them to the sides of the open stud cavity. Look at all this lumber laying around. I really need these racks. Put them here. And I'm just using a 2-inch, I don't know if you can see that, 2-inch exterior screw. Even though we're on the inside of a shed. I feel like that's a pretty solid attachment there. I'm going to clamp this one because it is out of shape. Last but not least, even though they slide in and out of the holes relatively easy, give them all a little tappy tap tap to make sure they were seated. Okay, this concludes this wall of the shed. Another shed addition completed. You know, I think one of the benefits of this lumber rack, which is why I went with it, is the versatility. So now all this spare construction lumber at my feet can go up on the shelf. Got it loaded up, ready to go. One of the several reasons I chose this lumber rack is the versatility of it. I mean, it's scalable for whatever type of wall you have. If you have a finished drywall, you could totally still mount this type of lumber rack. You could mount it in all sorts of various positions, upscale it for giant walls, downscale it for smaller areas. Its versatility is what was key on this lumber rack. I built numerous lumber racks over the years, and they're cool and all right at first, and then before long I start finding the shortcomings of mobile carts and wall racks and things like that. So I think the versatility of this one will keep it going for a while. I'm going to order a couple more sticks of EMT conduit, 2 10-foot sticks at 15 inches each. Left me with 16 pieces. They're just ultimately placeable wherever you want. And all of the holes below here are below 48 inches. So if I never fill these bottom 2 holes, I can still lean 4x8 sheet goods up against this wall. Here it is loaded. No more lumber on the floor. Looks like this shed is complete. I hope you enjoyed watching the video as much as I enjoyed making this project. Please like, subscribe, leave a thumbs up, leave a comment below, whatever it takes. Thank you for watching.